Batman and Robin, Year 1, Issue 10, Mark Waid writing with Chris Samnee on the art. So, I wasn't here for the last issue. The last issue had a hell of an ending, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
With our gangster man, Gimraldi, like, basically putting two and two together, figuring out that Batman and Robin are probably Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson based on Dick saying a circus thing when he was Robin in front of him. And then immediately that goes with him to his grave because what we think is his father stabbing him. And and for a second, I didn't immediately just get that it was Clayface. For a second, I thought, wait, has the old man been faking it this whole time? And then the next page, you realize, oh no, it's just Clayface. They have pulled a blinder, and now Clayface is working with Two-Face and continuing whatever the plan was. So I thought it was a great cliffhanger. I loved the last issue. And this issue is largely about the fact that they are kidnapping like key people in Gotham. At first it's the gangsters, like Falcone and Thorne and so on. But even Jim Gordon eventually we find out has been kidnapped and replaced by henchmen that they've turned into like clay men, if you will. However, they're all like temporary. Like maybe they don't know that, the people who have been turned into these things, but they're probably going to deteriorate and die after a while. They can only like keep this up for so long. They're not as stable as Clayface himself is. But the whole thing, it's really good. I love the reveal of Jim Gordon though, because it's like he's leaning against the bat signal and his hand starts to melt because of the heat of the signal. I thought that was a really nice little reveal.
Yeah. Well, it's because he tells Robin, don't play around with this thing. After half an hour, it gets hotter than a griddle. And then you look over and he's leaning into it. You're like, what? Why is Jim melting? And then he's a Clayman, which I also like that it's they've mixed the Clayface stuff with the Monster Men that we had seen in earlier issues.
Yep.
To get these new Clay Soldier type guys. So yeah, I just love where the story went here.
Yeah, as Alfred himself says, it's a bit of a body snatchers style story almost at this point. But yeah, no, I'm digging Clayface's look where he wears that mask in clay form when he's not pretending to be someone when he's talking to Two-Face. I think it's a really creepy visual. So no, I obviously the art here is gorgeous. That page where not Gordon turns on the signal, but you just get the hand on the switch, and then you see like inside the manor, like Bruce and Dick running to the cave because the signal's turned on. I thought that was I just thought it was really nice, and then obviously the payoff of the Gordon reveal. So we get a big action sequence where they have to try and fight their way, and they realize that everyone they're fighting is a clay person of some kind. So much so that by the time they get back to the cave later, Batman stole a finger of clay so that he can study and analyze it, which is a good bit. But yeah, we get a whole car chase here where they're being chased by multiple police vehicles, and they don't know for sure if the people in the vehicles are more clay people or just the police who are working for Gordon, because they think Gordon's, Gordon. So obviously they're having to be careful and whatnot. There's a great bit in the car chase. It's after he's crashed a couple of the cars together with like oil or whatever he spilled on the road, and it's the page after that where there's a panel of the car and the headlights, but then the panel underneath it is Batman's close-up of his eyes, and they look exactly like the headlights in the panel above. Really nice touch. For momentum's sake, just really good stuff. So yeah, they do like a bit of a tumbler thing where the car blasts over the other cars that are waiting for them and they get away. So super fun stuff. And they end up, the helicopter ends up blasting them. They end up in the in this sewer area, and they're hiding, and basically they're like, okay, Gimraldi thinks we're dead, right? So we can use that to their advantage. But at the same time, the big ending of the issue is that they've leaked, because they're trying to deal with Bruce Wayne. They've leaked that Bruce, because presumably they want to replace him with a clay person as well, maybe, or maybe they couldn't, and that's why they're doing this. But they've basically framed him for fraud. So the social services lady shows up with policemen to arrest him, and because Dick refuses to go willingly and says he'll start beating the cops up, they end up handcuffing him as well, which I did think was a real, because he's like, I can kick the shit out of these guys, I'm Rob. He doesn't say that obviously, but that's what he's thinking. And I love that there's consequences for that. He can't just threaten to beat up anyone who's trying to an authority figure who's there. So I did really like that touch. So poor Alfred has to stand at the door as both Bruce and Dick are being dragged away by the police. So as far as cliffhangers go into going into the last two issues, this was quite because it's kind of fun, because it's like last issue gave us the big reveal and like the big move from Clayface and escalated him to being kind of the main villain. And then this issue gave us a cliffhanger for Bruce and Dick, where their personal lives are the things that are being put in jeopardy. And it's, you know, it's not the lives as Batman and Robin that's causing them trouble at the end of this issue. It's just the real life versions of them. And I think that's interesting because this book's been juggling both the responsibilities of, you know, Batman teaching Robin how to be Robin, but also like how is Bruce going to be a father to Dick, and how is that going to look to the social services? That's been like a constant thread throughout. So I think this is a really cool cliffhanger that feels like the other side of the book's like rearing its not its ugly head, but its well deserved head. That was a weird sentence. That was a weird sentence.
Very weird. I also like that the social service worker tells Alfred, like, you know, what does she say here? I pray that for your sake you have no knowledge of Mr. Wayne's secret activities. If you do, the authorities will find out. And you're just like, oh, lady, you don't know how close you are.
You have no idea how many secret activities he's up to. Not the ones you think he is, but he's up to a lot of secret activities.
But I like that. And then, you know, how that's juxtaposed with Dick thrashing of, you can't do this, and him yelling for Bruce. You know, so yeah, I don't know how they're going to get out of this jam, but they're in quite one. And it's quite a big one. It's
good stuff. I like, because they say call for my lawyer, so I don't know if we're going to get like a you know, obviously not Harvey because he's Two-Face already, but like, I wonder if we're doing anything with that. But I think this story has been so well paced. It really does feel, you know, it feels like issue 10 of 12. It really feels that we're heading into like the final stretch. Like the only thing going against this issue, honestly, is that issue 9, which I read like earlier today, was so good that this is not quite as amazing as that. But it's you know, it's excellent stuff. It's been such a good book throughout the entire run. The art is phenomenal, the sequencing, but also the expressions and all the rest of it. I love the plot beats here of Clayface having his clay henchmen replace all these prominent figures, and it really puts Batman and Robin kind of in a bind because everyone around them can't be trusted. Which makes me wonder,
and then
are they going to like say try and swap out Alfred next? Like, you know, since they're away from him,
right? Is
that going to be something they do in the next couple of issues? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and just the idea that it's also Two-Face working with Clayface, and he calls it Project Gemini, right? And he's like, oh, and we get to do my favorite part, which is phase 2. So it's really leaning in on the duality side of Two-Face.
To be precise, the exact line, I think, is my favorite part of every plan. Phase 2.
Phase 2. You know, so the fact that they're swapping out with doubles and people, you know, there's 2 of them and all that. I'm like, oh my god, it is an old school Two-Face keeper.
Yeah, it's very well done. Like I've been enjoying the build of the villain. I think Grimraldi's death was a nice shock. Obviously, he's still pretending to be Grimraldi to his henchmen, so they don't question anything. But it does make me wonder, where's the old man? Has the old man been dead for a while or what?
You know, he was dead. If you go back and read that issue, he's on that panel. He's out of his chair on the ground.
Okay. I think I missed that.
Clayface killed him. Yeah.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yep. But I had the same thought until I went back and looked at those pages, because I was like, oh my god, has Clayface been impersonating the dad for a minute? And I was like, oh no, he just did it because he was tired of Grimaldi. And I also like that we built to the thing where Grimaldi pieces it together just naturally. And he's immediately taken out by his own, because he had to talk down to Clayface.
But I like though that he never says it out loud, so there's no like, you know, Clayface didn't hear this. He didn't like see what he saw. No. He just, you know, he doesn't have enough information to like get what Grimraldi just figured out. So no, the secret's safe, but obviously other problems now arise. Yep. So. No, excellent stuff. I mean, that's had everything. They had the action sequences, it had the advancing the plot, which was really fun, and the cliffhanger, which was more personal. There's, you know, had every like element you needed here for it to be a fun issue of this book. So, and an engaging issue where the story is really ramping up, and I'm really excited to see where it goes next. So, what are you rating Batman and Robin Year 1, Issue 10?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to argue with that. 9 out of 10 for me as well. Been consistently one of the best books every month since it started. This really is Mark Waid working at the level that I know Mark Waid can work at.